Take away. I know the one of them. She was totally on. Why isn't the owl? The other friend, the male.
Why did the IT lady?
I'm not sure.
Exactly.
But he's an alert person.
Why would you?
Okay,
It raises.
know how it connects.
we're live, but the video is not working.
It's progress.
Works.
But she should have stayed here till we were fully into the meeting.
She had a meeting she had to go to too, so she was doing. We're really.
Run in and run out.
Yeah, is to get.
Well, her meeting isn't subject to chapter 21.
Is the hour out?
But our meeting is not subject to be recorded like this either.
Chairman's decision.
Got it. Guess she was.
There we go.
fine.
Got it?
We live.
Well.
Take care of it.
There we go.
We're not prior to everybody.
I'll do it there.
Here at the bottom of the barrel.
And then do this.
One of the most
All
important
right.
things.
We got it.
Okay, so we're live.
Lisa, you are live.
All right. Good afternoon. After a slight technical delay, we are calling the meeting to order. This is the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections and Voter Registration. The date is March 14, 2023. The time is 5:16 p.m. We're at 120 West Doherty Street in Athens, Georgia. First item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Got a second?
Motion, Ms. Fambro, sorry. Second, Ms. Till, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the February 21st meeting. The members would take a look. Do you have any changes or suggestions? Speak now. Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 21st.
I so move.
Okay, and a second. Okay, motion, Ms. Fambro, second, Mr. Kadir. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the director's report. That's in your packet, and chair recognizes director.
Good afternoon, almost evening, everybody. We have, I have with me today members of my staff who will be updating you on particular items. And we're gonna start with our activity report, and Pam, she's the election assistant, handles voter registration and advanced voting, and she's gonna give you highlights of the activity report at this time. And then we will come back with, she'll also go with the advanced voting update, go right into that, so.
Okay, good afternoon, board. We will start out with our total voting count. So the total amount Athens-Clarke County has at this time is 83,388 voters. 70,859 of those voters are active, and 12,800 of those voters are inactive. Then for our vital report for the month of February, we've had 7 deceased voters. And then we've had 14 voters that have moved out of the state. According, for our felon report, we don't have a report at this time. As you know, we're implementing a new voting system, Jarvis, so we're still trying to get acclimated with it. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have numbers for you for felons, okay? And an update on the special election for the March 21st election. So as of now, I would say as of 2:30 p.m., we had 258 voters total. And I'll go down by each week, starting on the 27th, and I believe you have the papers as well. We had 13 voters that first day. And then the highest number of voters we had that week was on that Friday, the 3rd. And then we had to wind up having a total of 75 voters for week 1. And that was just at the election office. So the second week, we're going into, we have 104 voters, which on the highest day, again, was that Friday that we had 20 voters. And then we had Saturday voting that weekend of the 11th. So at the office, we had 10 voters. At the library, we had 20. And at the Miriam Moore Center, we had 5, which gave us a total of 129 voters as of the second week. But for that weekend, we had 35. Okay, for that Saturday and that Sunday. And going into this week, we have had so far as of 2:30, 2:30 Miriam Moore had no voters, which they had no voters yesterday, but as of 5 o'clock, I saw on the report, we had 2 to end 5, but at 2:30 for the office, it was 12, and it was 10 at the library, and I'll be able to update those numbers tomorrow if you need me to. So as of right now, like I said, we have 258 voters as of 2:30.
Are there people showing up, being turned away, not realizing they don't live in District 2?
Yeah, we have had voters that have come and they were not in the district. So,
We've tallied that number, I just don't have that number with me.
right.
Okay. How many voters do we have in District 2? Active voters approximately 2,500.
I know,
7,962.
We saw a lot of them at the library. Didn't like things, but we'll see what happens in the election.
And just to add a correction, our highest number in week 2 was on Wednesday with 25.
that is correct. My apology.
That's okay. And then on Sunday, we had 4 voters at the elections office.
Right.
All right. The next item is our poll worker training and approval of poll managers. So Lisa's going to give you an update of how many poll workers we have trained, the number of poll managers we've trained. And I would like to ask that in future elections or meetings before the election, if the board would approve the managers as we update you on their training hours. And we would have record of the fact that you guys had a part in the process of us okaying the managers for work. And we'll put that, if y'all would add that to your agenda and,
Is this a rolling standing item?
is it
Did you
a,
suggest like a standing item, like every meeting we're gonna be looking at?
just prior to the election? It was a practice that I did in my previous county, and it just shows that there's uniformity with us and you, and you're involved in that process of, because that is one of your duties.
Yeah.
So
And is that information
they-
packet today?
it is not, but Lisa's gonna give it to you verbally.
Okay. So we held poll worker training February 20th through the 25th. We held 7 sessions and trained 55 people. They received an average of 4 hours of training each. 8 of those people were managers, and the managers are now. Just an update on our training. We tested a new format for manager training that centered around a roundtable discussion, so they could discuss any issues that they've had in the past, anything that they want updates on or to increase their information on. And then we gave them any new information for this election, anything that had changed. They seemed to really like that because they were able to have time to ask their questions and get feedback from other managers about how they did things at their precincts. We also trained the advanced voting workers on the new check-in process using the poll pads with attached printers. And we trained them on a backup process in Jarvis in case the poll pads were not working. So they got a lot of new information for early voting this time. And everyone has been trained at this point who plans to work.
So what is pull pads with attached printers? I thought the printer was connected to BMD.
Okay, for advanced voting, there's a different process for checking. We used to use the process in the past was to check them in through ElectionNet, through the voter database. on a computer. They filled out an application by hand,
The clipboard.
and then got their voter access card through the poll pad, and then went to the BND to vote. The poll pads now are loaded with all the voter data, just like they are on election day. So they check in pretty much the same way they do on election day, but they're also attached to a little printer stand now with a small printer that actually prints out their application and it shows their signature on it that they signed and their name and all of their information.
Does it show, if it's during a primary, does it show which type of ballot they requested, party ballot?
Well, we haven't done that yet, but logic would say that it would because our certificates say which party they.
And is that
Fill it out.
required by law to have this printout? Is this a new change in law?
It's not required by law yet. We're part of a beta test county. And the Secretary of State is deciding whether they want to, or whether they can get the funding to fund all of the counties to have them.
Okay.
And party selection is.
It's the same information that used to print out. I mean, it wasn't printed before on the hand application that they wrote themselves, filled in themselves. They would circle which.
Well, I understand that it's public information, of course, but my concern is someone waiting in the parking lot, perhaps intimidating, saying, oh, you voted for
They're not gonna
this
know.
party instead of that party.
There's not any way that anyone in the parking lot would know. That piece of paper stays with us. That's our application.
Oh, we're not handing it to the voter, excuse me.
No, it's
Forgot
not.
everything
No,
I said. I thought the voter was getting the receipt.
no, it is not a
That's why I
receipt.
was confused.
No,
Is it some new law that happened?
It's just a different way to produce their application.
Understood.
Okay.
Were you done with your report? Okay, let's just go
Wait a minute.
person by person.
I do want her, Lisa, to make note how quickly now voters can check in versus before.
Because of a program that runs in the background that we now have access to all the time to look at our voter data, to see how check-in is going, to monitor the poll pads.
Uh-huh.
Our check-in rate is 39 seconds per check-in.
It was like 3 minutes before.
Yeah. Yeah,
Our voters are gonna love it. They're gonna
That'll
love
be
it.
good.
yeah, because that's one thing they say, slow, slow.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask one more question on that. Have there been issues with like the iPad crashing? I'm just thinking of someone that has millions of voters, like DeKalb, with their whole thing on there.
It's no different than election day. On election day, that poll pad holds the entire voter database of the state of Georgia.
Oh, I see. I thought it held just that precinct.
No, it's programmed to accept ballots or to produce ballots for that precinct and to accept check-ins for that precinct, but that's all. It still has all of the data from the entire state.
So the poll pad is connected via the internet, right?
No.
It's not.
No.
That's a good thing.
It does operate, the new ones now do operate over cellular data, over cellular towers.
So what happens if, I mean, there are parts in even this county where the cell data is not that great. I know we are not concerned.
We first in the November election,
Uh-huh.
and the ePulse, the program that I was talking about, Inc. monitored it at that time instead of us monitoring it. And they monitored to see what our connectivity was like to the cell towers. And if there was any problem, they would call me and say, check poll pad so-and-so, is it connecting? And we got all of those issues worked out in 2 previous elections. And every precinct seems to have good connectivity.
So if it's not connected to the internet, but it's connected to the cell, what is it connecting to if it's not?
That may be beyond me. It's just using the cell phone towers to send a signal back to ePulse.
So we don't have to worry about internet breaking down or anything because chances
Exactly,
of this breaking down is that.
right.
So do we get just one printer per precinct or each poll pad
Every
does not?
poll pad is connected, is paired, Bluetooth paired with a printer.
I must have missed something in the past. These are new printers, right?
Yes.
So did we have it on our budget? Were they provided by the?
It's a beta test. So there's several counties all over the state that are beta testing this program,
Okay.
and we're one of them. And so the printers are borrowed from the Secretary of State, but you should come by the office or the library and see the setup and see how it works.
Would you be able to share next meeting which counties are participating?
I can find out, yeah. It won't be long until all of the counties will migrate to cellular poll pads, and then the printers, depending on if we have the funding, or if the state gets the funding to buy the printers, then if they don't, then they'll be optional to the counties. The printers will be optional.
As well as the cellular, cost.
Oh, yeah, there's a cost for the cellular data, and the
Yes.
Secretary of State's trying to get funding so that the county doesn't incur that cost.
All right, Adam.
I don't have.
I was gonna, you kind of led into what my question was gonna be. I love this idea. I love that it's faster for the voters. I love the improvements on things, but the money is what got me there. Is this the kind of thing that, can we help raise voter awareness? Because if this is gonna be the General Assembly having to appropriate funding for this, if they don't, I don't want them just to kick it down the road to us, for us to have to scrape together the funds at the local level, when this is a great idea. That if they could, is that something, is this, where are we at with this? Is it a bill that you know of that's going through the assembly right now, or?
I could probably answer that better than I could.
Yes, we're gonna update you on the
Please, okay,
legislative
sure.
bill, and which also includes the budget, the state budget.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
and funding that the Secretary of State has requested on
Thank you.
behalf. Is that it?
I have a quick question, in case, since you brought up funding, in case the legislature does not pass the funding for the UPS, is the county going to spring it?
We have received a resolution from the mayor and commission that they will support the needs that we have.
Okay,
So if by chance that happens, we shouldn't have a problem with it. I'll just put in a request
yeah.
and it'll just,
And then we can, if they do it later on, we can, hopefully the state will reimburse us.
hopefully, but it's,
But they just passed it.
yes.
Was that the resolution they passed in December 22? To a different mayor commission?
It may have been
that
that
currently
meeting, I
stands?
can't remember. Yes. It was, well, actually, it was shortly after Senate Bill 202, I believe. It wasn't then, it was right after we got our equipment.
So definitely the previous.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay, so the next update will come from our absentee ballot processing and tabulation. Audra, our other election assistant, is going to give you an update on the process.
Good evening again, board. As far as the absentee balloting, I'm gonna piggyback off of a question a few minutes ago about the total number of voters. The precincts that were part of this special election are 2B, 3A, 3B, 5A, and 5C. And the document that I have, that gave us a total of 7,962 voters in those 5 precincts. Unfortunately, my report today is out of those almost 8,000 voters, we received only 27 applications for an absentee ballot. 9 of those were rejected. 8 of them were out of the commission district, and 1 was received too late. It was just received on yesterday. So 18 applications were processed and the ballots were mailed. And so far, we've received 5 back that have been accepted. Processing and tabulation. Due to the low turnout, there's no need for the normal 2-3 days of early tabulation. We will only do opening on election day, which is March 21st.
That's usually at 4 o'clock.
It's gonna start at 2 p.m.
2.
until completion. You know.
Yeah.
The last day for accepting applications, as you know, was last Friday, the 10th. Between myself and Nate, we kept check on Jarvis. I only received 2 of the applications through Jarvis. A few were mailed, a few were walked in. And I still check Jarvis every day. in case, because there's somebody out there who might think they can still apply. And those applications that were rejected, those voters have been notified via mail, or we had 2 that communicated with us through email, and there were 2 or 3 who we spoke to in person. But all notations are made and all those voters are aware of why their application was rejected. So those are the numbers.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question, Mr. Chair. To the director, may I request, even just a rough cost of keeping the library and the Miriam Moore Center open for the events?
I can email that to you. I do have the numbers. The total cost for this elections is gonna range from $24,000 to $25,000. But I do have it broken down by, early voting location and by, election day, and I can provide that to you guys.
Yeah, I was thinking out loud right now, other than the office, do we need to even bother to keep these open? But let's see what happens.
Okay. And then Alita's gonna give you an update on the vote review panelist and the duplication team, what time they will actually assemble. And if there is any need for you guys to appoint anybody, I believe we have everybody, but she's gonna give you the update for that.
How are y'all doing today?
Thank you.
I've contacted the people for the vote review duplication. We're gonna use the same team for vote review and duplication, since it's because of the election. And it's a nonpartisan election. So I will need your consent as if you want me to call one of the appointed VOE representatives, or if one of you are available to be the representative. You will not be there long. Maybe 30 minutes, an hour.
Day and time?
It's gonna be on election day, the 21st of March.
At about 2 o'clock.
I need them at 1:45. I would like for them to be there at 1:45 so we can be ready to go at 2 o'clock.
You can do it.
You volunteer?
I'm quite sure I can, unless there's something I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I'm 99% sure I can.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
just needed one BOE representative. That's it.
Yes, that's
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to mention to our public that if anyone, any voter who is registered to vote in Commission District 2, they still have until Friday to vote. We will have extended hours tomorrow till 7 p.m. at the elections office from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then at the library in Miriam Moore from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. And then on Thursday and Friday, we will go to our regular hours, which will be 8 to 5 at the elections office, and then from 9 to 5 at the regional library and the Miriam Moore Community Center. So Mission District 2 voters, get to the polls. All right. The next item is preparation for the work session that will be held on April the 4th and the 18th at 3 p.m. at the Facilities Management location. It's at 2555 Lexington Road. And this is a work session of polling locations and precinct line study. And so I have for you guys a binder. We're assigning you guys homework so that these 2 work sessions will not last 40 hours, right? So, yes, Letha's gonna pass them out. If I could, let me see. Yes. And I'll tell you what you have here. I have asked for GIS to come to the meeting. They're gonna put up on they're gonna display the map on the screen for you guys to mark up the map after you decide on what you would like the precinct lines to look like, right? So in your supplies, you have a specific color pencil assigned to you. And yes, fun, right?
Oh, I got green.
Also have an eraser.
I love green.
Eraser.
Good. We also have an eraser because we thought that would be better than having an eraser on the end of each pencil. Yeah. So I've provided for you a list of course, you guys, contact information, because this is a document that is of course available to the public, right? And to show that you are the ones who are involved in this process. I also have for you your tentative timeline, showing your 2 dates of your work sessions. Also provided some code sections. You have your code books, but this will be easy to refer to. Starting off with the opinions from the Attorney General, where it talks about the census and how numbers come about as far as registered voters. And then I've highlighted 21-2, 260, 261, 261.1, 262, and 265, and 266, which references the precinct lines and polling locations. Your next section is the list of our polling locations as they are currently with the addresses. I've also provided for you a list of our precincts broken down by demographics. Then I have for you a total of precincts voters by combo. And I wanted you to see this because I've contacted Gina Wright at the State Reapportionment Office to ask her to provide some guidance as to what kind of suggestions I can bring to you so that we can identify things such as, if you look at your report, 1A has a district combo of 306, there's only 3 voters there in that combo. So there's some things that I feel we could probably address, but we can eliminate some of these combos, which will cut down on a lot of confusion with our voters. So if you had to adjust the line just to cure those 3 voters, it may be that it's there because of a state house or a Senate delegation. I don't know for sure, but we can identify that when we have our GIS folks with us. So I wanted to provide you that. And then I've met with our GIS department. And this was one of the things that we talked about and was able to agree that if we could get your input in advance, so you would take this map out and draw what you feel would be a more conducive line, a more reasonable line, precinct line, or what have you. Yeah, so we've got a precinct map of every location. It also shows on these maps the churches, the ACC Gov buildings, the vacant ACC Gov buildings, schools. It has your railroad lines, your transit routes, the hydrology, and your street center lines. God bless you. So you have all of these resources, and I hope that you will take a look at it and come up with what you feel would be the directions we need to go with our precincts. I do want to mention that geographically, we have some good things on our side because of our geographic area. We have the smallest landmass in the state of Georgia. What I hope you will try to accomplish is, and it may mean reducing the numbers of precincts, I don't know. But if you can accomplish where a voter who lives on at a specific address, but can identify right across the street, there's a polling location, but they can't go there because of how the precinct line is drawn, so they've got to go down the street, okay? So I'm hoping you will open your minds up, just be open and, step out the box and let's take advantage of this opportunity. What I'm hoping to do is, once we have established where our polling location is gonna be, I will have, communication with our transit department and see what it will take to get all of our precincts on the transit line. I know this is not something we can do quickly. It's gonna take a lot of people, a lot of studying, a lot of approvals. And so, I think we're in a good place right now. So if you would do that, and I forgot the date. What date did we say we wanted to have these back?
I believe it was like a couple days before
Couple
have
days,
that first,
the first meeting,
Meeting.
yes. So if y'all want to get these back to me, I believe it was that Thursday, the Thursday before the day of your, meeting. And then
31st, yeah.
yeah, because we're gonna sit down with GIS and look at what you've come up with. And how many of those voters are gonna be moved, what the demographics look like, and such. So we're gonna try to do as much work so that the work sessions are more productive than everybody sharing all of their ideas. We'll have all of your ideas in advance.
And in the meantime, if we need to request something from GIS, we can ask you to maybe ask them to format something like, I'm more interested in not just the voter distribution, because as we see what our turnouts have been like, more as voters who have participated in the last few elections or active voters and things like that.
Right.
So we can ask you and typically, are they able to produce this kind of data within a few days, right?
Yes, within a few days. What I don't want to happen is that you have an idea of what you want the
Yeah.
line to look like while we're at the work session and they're there and they can't produce that right away.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this right here is gonna get us organized and
Oh, this
in
is
the right
right.
direction.
Let us start thinking before.
Yes, yes. And you're welcome to draw on those and, such. All right, I think that's all I have on that. So my next item, I wanted to inform you that we, on February the 8th, a few of us went down to the Capitol and our association, Gabrio, establishes a day through the legislative committee, a day at the Capitol for our organization first to be recognized, but to also allow us the chance to network and have conversations with our delegates to talk about some of the bills that's been introduced in the General Assembly this year. So we took advantage of that. We also, on March the 9th, went over to the Capitol and were invited to a luncheon with the Secretary of State staff and with No Ink, and there was a couple other vendors who were there. And during that time, there was a press conference with Secretary Raffensperger, and we were a part of that press conference where the launching of Jarvis took place. So we're working in Jarvis now, and still some little bits and pieces that are being fixed through the Secretary of State's office, but it seems to be coming along. But Nate is going to share with you, Nathan Ork, he's one of our elections clerks, is going to share with you the update on the legislature and what kind of changes we foresee happening and the way we have contacted our delegates and shared with them some concerns that we might have, not just as Athens-Clarke County, but as a state as a whole, our legislative committee of Gabrielle. So Nate, if you would, thank you.
Hi, board. So I've given you all the notes that I have for y'all about the most pressing bills. There are a couple of bills that are still up for consideration that have crossed over before crossover day. Those two bills that I haven't included here that are still being considered mostly have to do with qualifications of the office of sheriff and what to do in case of the vacancy of the office of sheriff, which could result in a special election. And I'm kind of waiting to see the turnout on them before I tap into any of our notes, because until they get passed, they won't really affect us too much. These three bills are the most pressing ones, with the most pressing one being up here at the top. That's the budget bill for fiscal year 2024. And the House has already passed their version of this, which did not include as much money as we wanted it to. And currently where it sits in the Senate, it only has $2 million in 5-year bonds for the Secretary of State's office, which would then be dispersed to the various counties, which is significantly less stretched out over much more time than the Secretary of State's office requested. That $4 million that the Secretary of State's office requested was for new uninterruptible power supply systems, which we use in our precincts and plug up BMDs and printers into. In 2019, we got 16,000 of those, which were, dispersed to the various counties across the state. Those UPSs have a 5-year battery life, and those batteries cannot be replaced. The entire unit has to be replaced. So in 2024, at latest 2025, we are looking at having to replace every single one of those UPSs, which Clarke County has over 100.
69?
It was 169. Okay, so the number I have on your sheet for how much this would cost us is actually higher than the estimate I've given you. Because I made that estimate based on about 150. So if we have to replace all those UPSs ourselves as a county and we get no funding, we're looking at over $136,000 just for the equipment to buy it and get it delivered. And then we would take on another more than $4,000 charge to dispose of the UPSs that we currently have because of their hazardous nature being batteries and having battery acid in them. We, as the Legislative Committee of Gavrio, and our office in particular, we reached out to legislators on the Governmental Operations Subcommittee of the Appropriations Office. Our Athens area Senator Frank Ginn is the head of that subcommittee. And we called him, we emailed him, we talked to him in person during our most recent day at the Capitol and attempted to explain to all of them that this is a need. Yeah, this is not a thing that can be spaced out because all of these UPSs are going to die effectively at the same time over the course of the same year. So they all need to be replaced at once. However, the Secretary of State's office, with the budget they have requested, the new UPSs we would be getting would be 15 pounds lighter, and they would have batteries that are replaceable. So that would make future costs much less if we can get these new UPSs in. And the costs in the chart that I've given you refer to buying those new UPSs. Ideally, while this bill is still in the Senate Appropriations Committee, they will give us more money or put more money towards the Secretary of State's office budget. At present, it has not left the Appropriations Committee, so the bill is still being worked on. I double checked, I called their office today to see if it had gone anywhere, and it's still there. So I have no updates on whether or not they have adjusted the number for the Secretary of State's office, but there is still time for money to be added to that budget. I think it would be worthwhile to go ahead and prepare for the chance that they don't, and us looking at $140,000 plus cost of UPSs in the year 2024. We're going to need to prepare for that, and we're going to need to do it sooner rather than later. Because again, those UPSs are going to. So that is the really important one, and I will update you all if anything happens with House Bill 19, that budget bill, if it goes through and if there's any kind of change to that line item, I will let all of you know. The other two bills that are worth paying attention to, because they're the only other two that pertain to the chapter of elections in the Title Code of Georgia law, are SB 129, which has to do with giving workers time off to vote. This would add advanced voting to the time that people can use to take off, just extends their ability to go vote. And that was heard in the election subcommittee today of the Governmental Affairs Committee, along with SB 222, which would affect us a little bit more specifically in regards to not getting budget funding if we end up not getting budget funding. Because already SB 202 made it so that if our office were to receive any kind of grant funding, we couldn't apply for it on our own, and we can't receive gifts or anything like that from any organization. That kind of thing has to go through Clarke County or the state or the federal government in order to get to us. SB 222 would take that a step farther, and instead of being able to get it through our county, it would have to be state or federal. The county or municipality could not give us any additional funding or apply on our behalf for them.
Because they're falsely accusing DeKalb County of taking them.
Yes, noted. In addition to that, and making that threshold $200, so we could only accept any kind of gift $200 or under. In addition to that, it adds a penalty of a felony charge for any election superintendent or elections worker that would accept any kind of gift not otherwise stated in this. They would be charged with a felony, given 1 year of jail time and a fine of $10,000, which currently that is not in code. Currently, the penalties for breaking any code section range from a misdemeanor to a felony, depending on if elections fraud is added into their charge, and the fines range from $100 to $10,000. So it's basically the maximum charge.
So basically, the $140,000 we'll have to spend in 2 years. We cannot go out and seek outside funding to fund that. So the county has to fund that, but we can't.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Just so everyone understands.
Yes.
Absolutely. I additionally contacted all the members of that subcommittee that were hearing that bill today and attempted to explain that to them and pointed out very clearly with these two facts combined, you are looking at putting a $150,000 cost onto our county and not giving us any additional aid to fund that. But both SB 129 and SB 222 were seen in subcommittee today, and they both passed subcommittee. To the best of my knowledge and understanding, they were not passed with any amendments.
I know
At
for
least one was
sure
passed
that
by subcommittee.
222 was passed without amendments.
Okay.
4-4 with the chairperson breaking the tie.
Yep. And I know with 129, they were considering amendments, but to the best of my understanding, the writers of the bill wanted to have further contact with their legal team before any amendments were passed. So amendments will be considered when it goes in front of the full Government Affairs Committee instead of being passed in the subcommittee. So amendments will be added possibly tomorrow. So I'm going to continue looking at those to see if any other amendments get added and to look at the possible substitutes that may be added to those. Part of the reason the Legislative Committee is watching those two bills is because this is the last chance for the General Assembly to add any other elections changes during this election cycle. Sine die is on March 29th, so they're running out of time to do that if they want to. But that is the current legislative update. I will give you all more information if I have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My question is, when you're communicating with these people, you're speaking on behalf of the Gabrielle Legislative Committee?
I'm mentioning that in my communications.
Because Ms. Till and I may have different opinions on some of these bills, one way or another, so you're not speaking for the whole of this entire room, right? Or
Correct.
Okay.
No, I mention that in my capacity as an election official, this is how this would affect me. And when we talk as part of the Legislative Committee, we mentioned that we are a part of Gabrielle. And nothing that I say to any of these committees is directly tied to my Board of Elections unless I have gotten your permission for that beforehand.
And usually if Nate is communicating on our behalf, it's to say, this is how it will impact us. This is how much it's gonna cost us. This is what we will have to do if it passes, if it doesn't pass us. And that's the route we take.
And we did a similar, we passed a resolution on SB 202 similarly, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chair, would it be fair to say until now, Clark County has not received any money which they,
We received money in 2020.
in 2020, we did.
Prior to Senate Bill 2.
How much was it approximately?
Um,
Hundreds of
30?
85,000. I think
Yeah.
I requested 135. I think we got it.
And it was from like 3 or 4 different orgs, right?
Well,
You remember?
now those grants that you're talking about came from Secure the Vote,
Yes.
HAVA, and, those were HAVA funds. We did get those, but we got, a grant from Civics, the Center for Civics Life,
Yeah,
and,
Mark Zuckerberg.
yeah,
And that's the real concern.
that's the $85,000.
Yeah, but it wasn't just Clark County and DeKalb that got money.
No.
All
Other
counties
counties.
of all varying
Right,
bits of life
yeah, all
got money from that.
9 counties could apply, and those who applied received funding.
When we received the funding, were there any conditions or were we required to spend it on very specific things or however you wish?
Yes, so when I submitted my application, I indicated what it would be spent on to the dollar.
Okay.
And, of course, I had to go through, our finance department, and they tracked a lot of it. And so afterwards, I had to report how we spent it. And we spent all of it. And that was the idea. And, it got us through COVID. It provided us laptops that we needed for our advanced voting that we're still using. And, a lot of PPE items. We bought some equipment with it. We used it. Yeah. Grateful to receive it.
Was any amount used for things like, for our voters, like water bottles and stuff?
No, only PPE items.
Yeah, and the allegation was that DeKalb County did this, but when we were at Gabrielle once, Ryan Germany was up there saying that your county commission can apply for the money on your behalf.
Right.
So, but let's move on.
So, yes, so thank you, Nate. I appreciate Nate watches he watches the General Assembly like it's stock money. So I appreciate him, and every time
You're gonna
something
be a
comes up.
lobbyist soon.
Yeah, he love that. But anyway, he comes, and I mean, I think he's found his niche, and I'm loving it. He serves on the legislative committee for Gabrielle and plays a very big part in it. So I want to publicly thank him for that, because it has been an asset to me. Helping me know where we're going and what we're going to be looking at and what I need to ask for in our next budget. So, and I want to also commend my staff who are very supportive, Audrey and Lisa and Aretha. And so leading to that, Audra's gonna close us out with how many open records requests we received last month.
For the month of February, we received 1 open records request. Ms. Pembroke, you asked me a question about it earlier. Do you need for me to say more?
No, but some other people may be
Okay.
interested because there's a time gap in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, that 1 open records request that was received, I'm glad this happened. It was received in December of 2020. In the middle of December, which was the time that we were getting prepared for the January runoff of 2021. So needless to say, we really can just say 2020. COVID, presidential election, not enough staff, everybody's scared to be at work. You're masked up, you're in gloves. So human error. This was responded to, and the information was gathered and put in a folder. And with everything else going on, it was a thing of one person thought it was sent and all the way through and another did. I was puzzled when it came back through in February because they had waited for so long and they had paid for it. But I can remember sitting in some interviews with Lisa at one point and Aletha, interviewing poll workers. And one of the questions, I can actually see it, Nancy, at the bottom of the page. When you make an error, what do? That's a question every poll worker is asked. And most of them, 90% will come back and say, you go to your superior, manager, whatever, and you fix it. Our superior, our boss, Charlotte, which, responded, first of all, with an apology and completion date for this ORR, basically just to get it back to them because everything had been taken care of. She led our team. We went back through some of the documents. Some needed some redacting. And after we did that, she then got everything sent over and it was finished. But the reason why I say I'm glad that it came up is because none of us are perfect. But as a team and a staff, we went back behind our fearless leader and fixed what needed to be fixed. But there's nothing to hide.
Right.
No perfect people, no perfect staff. It was just a simple overlook. And when you think back to what happened in 2020, I myself know it was crazy. I had just lost my mom in December of 2019. We went into 2020. We had that special paper ballot issue that went on hearing, and then bam, COVID. And life as we knew it has changed forever. But even before even knowing this, thanks to our awesome administrative assistant, Aletha, started back in 2022, we now have an Excel spreadsheet. So anytime we receive open records requests, we go in, we enter the date it was who asked for it, the date received, and then it automatically populates you the due date of the response. And once it's done, I plug in the date it was finished and by who. So for all of 2022, there's an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to know for July of 2022, I just click on that tab and it opens up. And we have started one for 2023 already. So even before knowing about this accidental error, we had already started something new that is now covering that from happening again.
So the process is
questions?
fixed.
Oh, yeah, it's fixed.
It's not.
The process is fixed, and then that human mistake was fixed. They got everything that they needed. Thank you, Charlotte.
Yes, and we were also transitioning from adding an additional elections assistant who's responsible for open records requests. So we got it under wraps now.
Yeah, I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
All right,
I was
let's move on.
next year.
We gotta go.
Okay, so we're done.
You have board pay.
Oh, you want me to go ahead and do that now? Okay, so, what I am gonna be proposing on your behalf to the mayor and commission, will be effective, I'm asking for it to be effective, with our FY 24 budget. I've got to present this to the mayor and commission as a agenda item for their voting meeting, and I'm foreseeing it to take place in May. What I plan to propose is a monthly stipend of $275 and a requirement that that you attend the meeting that month.
You said 4. Maybe you misspoke. You said 4 on the phone yesterday.
For what?
100? Yeah.
275.
It seemed high, but that's what you said.
275, and that's a total of $3,300 annually. 275.
Okay. You probably just misspoke.
That's what you wanted to hear, Rocky.
No.
Look, my ears would have perked up too, and I wouldn't have said anything.
I'll let you all know that.
Thank you so much.
And I based it on the fact that majority of the counties boards are receiving a stipend. They're not paid hourly. And so I looked at Berrien County, I looked at Cobb County, and I looked at Macon-Bibb. And looked at those numbers, and so that puts you in a good place.
So the majority of the counties that you looked at, not in the majority of the BACs within ACC code.
Right, no, not the VACs. So that's something that I will put in my comparison when I do my agenda item.
Right?
If I could, real quick, Charlotte, could you update the board on the last agenda item that went to the mayor commission?
Yes, on the last agenda item, that was submitted at the meeting of the Mayor and Commission on December 14th, 2021, there was a request for your increase, and it was on their consent agenda, item number 17. And about 10 minutes was given into the discussion with the Mayor and Commission. And it led to adding some concerns about the other BACs and how they are compensated for their service. So the commissioners, they seemed to agree that there needs to be some changes, because there was even mention of your training that you were getting ready to go to, because we were about to go to our Gario training. So there is, some agreeance there. But still, I think there's going to be some comparison with the other VACs, what they're making.
Well, I think it's important to point out that this board has constitutional duties where most of the others do not. And we bear larger responsibility than they.
And most all the other boards.
Because we are
The board planning daffodils, I mean,
Yeah, I'll make sure that that's mentioned in my report,
I think that that's. an
my
important
request,
note.
the request. Yes.
Okay, all right. The next item on the agenda, we're gonna move on to old business. And the first item on the agenda is continuing discussion about changes to voter precincts for the 2024 elections. And Mr. Turley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for this binder. I'm excited for tearing into this. I want to just kind of recap for anybody who might be listening for the first time about this. We are not discussing any changes for this 2023 election coming up. There's no changes whatsoever to this Commission District 2. This would be only if we made any changes, it'd be for 2024. I want to just be sure everyone understood we have 2 work sessions coming up, both at 2555 Lexington Road, Tuesday, April the 4th at 3 p.m. and Tuesday, April the 18th at 3 p.m. Mr. Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not planning to, there won't be any, I'm not planning to make any motions or vote on things there. It'll be a work session that we'll then take to a regular meeting to vote on. Did we decide about public comment at those meetings? I don't want people to show up thinking they can say stuff.
We had this whole discussion last time.
And it's,
No.
okay, got it. And then I wanted the last thing I wanted to kind of, first, well, 2 things. Wanted to check in first to see if we had other thought. When we first brought this up, that's where we got the good ideas about wanting to have maps that listed the churches and listed things like that. Were there any other such ideas that we had thought of?
One question I have, and I can't remember if we discussed it. Are you going to suspend the rules so we can have a normal conversation rather than?
We can do that. I mean, anyone can make the motion to do that.
Okay.
It's not
That will be
the
helpful.
chair.
To make it more organic.
Yeah,
right?
otherwise,
Yeah.
it just doesn't flow well
Right.
for a work session.
So I just wanted to give a moment in case we had other ideas that we could, things we would like to bring to that meeting or resources we want to have available.
Well, we can always communicate by email.
Definitely. I just, while I was thinking about this, I wanted to share one thing that is, I don't see in this binder at the moment. And I'm saying this to remind myself to email us with Mr. D'Angelo and Director Tosby. I like the idea in theory of considering the precincts, not so much with respect to where the precincts currently are because of how much stuff has changed, but where the densest sectors of population are. And and I'm not sure what that would look like, but just to kind of give a heads up to Mr. D'Angelo in case he and his staff can get the ball rolling on that. I don't believe our current materials in here, they show the numbers, right, for the whole precinct, but not where they are in the precinct.
Concentration.
Anyway, I'll make a note and follow up with y'all over email about that.
Okay. And I believe they could probably have that displayed on the screen while you're doing your work session, but would you like to have it before then?
Yeah, if possible, it'd be wonderful. And I'm a PDF or online kind of guy. It doesn't have to be a piece of paper that we come by to pick up from y'all.
Okay.
But I don't know what that like maybe a heat map to see what parts of the precinct are.
And yeah, and then too, I think the fact that, since they have the streets on there,
Mhm.
that, we're just gonna have to assume some things if stuff we get to asking for is too big. Like when you look at an area where it's got 20 streets, you know, there are probably a lot of houses and a lot of people in that area. Then when you have maybe one street in this corner, 3 streets in that corner.
Yes.
So, you know, we probably do need what he's talking about, but we don't want to get too elaborate and try to make all of that on all the precincts for every precinct. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, but something that's manageable, but not to put a whole lot of work on the staff over there.
Uh-huh.
Because in my mind, I can kind of, since I, you know, living in Athens most of my life, I kind of know when I look at the areas, you know, it's a lot of folk live right here. But a lot of, you know, some people might not realize that.
I think that's an easy thing, because I think they showed us that when we were over there at one point. So I can send that to you guys email.
Thank you.
PDFs are good, right? Because I can't remember Miss Ann.
Sure.
She get PDFs.
Thank you very much. That was what I had for that, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Good suggestion.
Next item on the agenda is one that I put on, status of letter to CCSD School Board and Superintendent about approving communications between our office and theirs regarding election logistics. And again, I have not had time to prepare that letter, but thankfully we're a way out from the big one, so.
Yeah, and there too, we probably need to make some decision about what we just discussed in the binder. Before
then-
we absolutely, you know, contact them.
And the other thought I had was there might be a few things that may have fixed themselves or
Yeah.
need to be additionally fixed, so, yeah. I guess. And then the next item is not an item, it's just tabled from April under old business. The next item on the agenda is new business, of which there are no items. However, my question is, did you need us to vote on those managers approval that you mentioned earlier?
Be good. We'll start.
Do you have the list of names?
I think I can remember them.
Okay, I'll have you get them, we gotta amend the agenda first. So the chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add approval of full managers under new business, item 1.
I so move.
Okay, second?
Second.
Motion, Mr. Kadir, second, Ms. Fambro. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Aye, okay. Agenda is amended. Now, Ms. McGlon, would you please read those names?
Okay, so 2B Howard B. Stroud, manager is Patsy Faye Lewis. 3A Clark Central High School is Mary Songster. 5A Oglethorpe Elementary is Tommy Glenn. Go back to 3B. 3B Lay Park Community Center is Sheila Wallace. 5C Chase Street is Monica Capasu. Advanced voting, of course, is already going on, but you can do those too. The library is Pete Marr. And Miriam Moore is a combination of Alice Eves and Janet Hughes. And the office, I believe, has been using office staff.
Great. All right. The chair. Your comment first.
I want this to be as by the book as it needs to be. If this is something that we're doing in regards to I'm curious to know whether I have questions about the spelling of these names. If we want to propose the motion to name these people, if maybe that needs to be thorough and formal, or just the managers as suggested by, as recommended by.
That's what I was gonna say, and then we could.
Yeah.
We could amend the minutes with the proper names later, if we could be provided a list for the next meeting. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the names listed by Lisa McGlon as poll managers
For the March 23.
for March 21 election. Special election.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Read that again.
So I'm sorry, I move that we approve the names listed by staff as poll managers for the March 21st, 2023 special election. We could maybe recommended by instead of listed by.
Recommended by.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Recommended, yeah.
So I'll
I heard you
Reset
say
the
that
motion.
word. That's why I want you to read it. I don't know whether you included it.
thank you. So I move that we approve the names recommended by staff as poll man March 21st, 2023 special election.
Okay.
Who had seconded that? Was it?
Go ahead.
Was that second?
I mean, I can. I'll second it.
Okay.
Just shake it up a bit.
Thank you. Got that written down.
All right. And then, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Managers are approved. All right, next item on the agenda are announcements. Mr. Shirley, or excuse me, will you read the announcements for us?
First announcement, Tuesday, March the 21st is election day. It's the last day to vote in person in the March 2023 special election, which is for County Commission District 2. Tuesday, March 21st, 4:30 p.m., we will have a special called meeting at 2555 Lexington Road pertaining to Election Day. Monday, March the 27th at 4 p.m. at 2555 Lexington Road, we will have our March special called meeting for the certification of that special election. Tuesday, April the 4th at 3 p.m. at 2555 Lexington Road, we will have an April special called meeting as a work session for the voter precincts study. Tuesday, April the
Attorney Hines, should we, number 4 on our agenda under announcements, should it be listed as a work session rather than a special called meeting?
So there is no thing under the Open Meetings Act as a work session.
Okay,
I know that that's what the county, particularly Clerk Gene Spratlin likes to refer to things as, but there are only regular meetings, special meetings, and emergency meetings.
understand.
So I would encourage you all just to call them special call meetings.
Thank you for the clarification.
To be clear, I mean, you certainly can call things a work session if you choose to, because our mayor commission.
Yeah, he's got work session in parentheses, but it's fine.
Tuesday, April the 4th is that work session for voter precincts. Tuesday, April the 11th, 4:30 p.m. at 120 West Doherty Street, right here, is our April regular meeting. And then Tuesday, April the 18th, 3 p.m. at 2555 Lexington Road is our April special call meeting, our second work session on the voter precincts study. And then we have a new announcement, the birthday of our chair is today.
So moved. All right,
I just want to clarify one thing, with our attorney. I guess it's okay to suspend the rules even for a special call meeting.
What do you mean by suspend the rules?
Well, we wanted to, for our work session, we wanted to have an open flow conversation rather than
The formality of
the
it.
formalities of,
Yeah, push the formalities to the side, like, refer to, like we're having right now. But we're just gonna have normal conversations, looking over materials and stuff.
Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up. Anytime that you all are together as a quorum or more, it's an official meeting. So even though you may call it a work session, you would still have to have the basic requirements of the Open Meetings Act. So someone calling it to order, minutes that keep track of who was there. Minutes don't have to discuss what was said, right? Minutes are for what was done. So if you don't intend to vote, the minutes can really be something as simple as everyone was attended, everybody attended, the chair called the meeting to order at 5 o'clock, discussed X, adjourned, such and such time, 6, or whatever it is. But you still have to do those basic requirements of the Open Meetings Act. Does that answer your question?
but you can suspend the rules within that.
So you mean your bylaws?
No, the formality of it, the idea of the formality, because, okay, we're looking at maps, right? Okay, so we won't be going into voting on whether we're gonna do this or that. Or just And I.
So we can be
explained it
like,
better
oh, I
than
like that
formality.
line. Do you like that line? Cool, let's do that.
Yeah, so
This, yeah, no, I don't like that. Just
Right.
conversation like that.
Sure. So at this point, what we're talking about are Robert's Rules of Order. And I think if I remember correctly, your bylaws say that you follow Robert's Rules of Order. I think you can certainly vote to suspend the rules. But at the same time, there's also like a question of who of the body is going to object. You know, if you all have come to that understanding that that's, so it's not something I'm particularly hung up about because it's not a requirement of the law. Does that make sense? So I think you're perfectly fine. If you want, if the most formal way to do it would be to vote to suspend your rules, to say that for the purpose of this, you're going to engage, I guess, in casual conversation and not follow the Robert's Rules of Order. And so you could document that vote on your minutes if you wanted to be very, very circumspect about it. Does that make sense? Right, perfect.
Satisfied?
Good to know.
Okay. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
We always.
Everybody ready, Gene.